used to be. We've all heard the expression, life is like a journey. Like any journey, life is best appreciated and easily understood when we look back at the ground that has already been covered. Doing so can also help us better prepare ourselves for whatever challenges may lie ahead. These old pictures, taken long before the era of smartphones and social media, serve to remind us of the way the world actually used to be. While some of these images may now seem rather odd or inconceivable, it's still worth looking back to see how far this world has came since then. Sweet dreams in shelter beds. During the Second World War, the United Kingdom experienced frequent bombings and air raids by the Germans. Most of these attacks took place at night, which made it unsafe for many people to sleep in their own beds. The Morrison shelter was a type of air raid shelter measuring 6 feet 6 inches long, 4 feet wide, and 2 feet 6 inches high. It was named after Herbert Morrison, who was then the UK's Minister of Home Security. Morrison shelters were provided for free to households with a combined annual income of less than €400. The dry cleaning business that staffed firefighters. The person in the photo is not a Roman soldier, but a member of the Achille Serre Ladies Brigade in action. Achille Serre, a Frenchman who came to England with his wife Eugenie in 1870, pioneered the dry cleaning method in the UK. At its peak, Serre's dry cleaning business, Achille Serre Limited, had more than 1,700 employees and over 400 outlets across the UK. The company even had a fire brigade that staffed primarily by women, giving a new meaning to mobile home. This photo shows an entire house being relocated, a fairly common practice in the United States in the late 19th century up to the early 20th century. Some families resorted to doing this as they lacked the resources to build a new home where they moved. Life was tough for many people at the time, even for those living in major cities like San Francisco. Problems like crop failure, high taxes, and job shortages often led to much movement between cities or states as people searched for a better life. Stocking shortages inspires women to paint their legs. As women's hemlines rose in the 20th century, so did the demand for stockings. In the 1920s and 1930s, stockings were typically made of silk or rayon. By the early 1940s, however, nylon stockings had become more popular. After the United States joined the Second World War, the production of nylon was diverted for military use, resulting in a shortage of nylon stockings. As a solution, women had their legs painted to replicate the appearance of stockings, a trend that continued even after the war. Free babysitter. In this picture, this mom got clever when she decided she needed to take a moment for herself. While needing to take a second for herself, she used what she had within arm's reach to keep her baby safe: an empty trash bin. In the 1960s, this wouldn't have been a very big deal, but imagine going to a park today and witnessing the same thing. Most people present day would view this as some sort of child abuse. 1938 portable changing boots. There's nothing like a nice swim at the beach to cool off a hot summer's day. Unfortunately, this is also when beaches tend to get super busy. Changing rooms are most likely overcrowded, and the ones that aren't are probably too far away. These two women at Coney Island in New York City seem to have found a solution: portable changing booths. These portable changing booths are lightweight and easy to set up, allowing anyone using them to get changed anywhere while maintaining some privacy. I need one of these. Waking people up for a living. That would be an awesome job. During the Industrial Revolution, when alarm clocks were neither affordable nor reliable, many people in Britain and Ireland relied on men and women, known as knocker-uppers, to wake them up every morning so they wouldn't be late for work. Knocker-uppers knocked on people's windows either using battoons, short sticks, or long bamboo sticks. Knocker-uppers, who were typically paid a pence a week, had largely disappeared by the 1950s, though some neighborhoods in England still had them until the early 1970s. This, I wish this was still a thing. I have to say it. I wish this was still a thing. Old-fashioned swimming lessons. Learning how to swim requires lots of patience and hard work, not just on the part of the student, but the teachers as well. Any parent who has ever taught their child how to swim can surely attest to that. This photo, taken in the early 1900s, shows a father using a rather, let's say, unusual method to teach his child how to swim. This method has two major benefits. First, he can avoid getting wet. Second, he can easily pull his child out of the water in case something goes wrong. Speechless. A baby in a baby cage. Many people would be horrified by this sight today, but babies in cages suspended from city apartment windows were a fairly common sight in many large cities across America in the UK in the first half of the 20th century. These so-called baby cages, or health cages, were intended to allow babies to enjoy some fresh air and sunshine. However, the popularity of baby cages declined by the mid-1900s, likely due to safety concerns and high pollution levels caused by increased automobile traffic. Flying Southwest in the 1970s. The airline industry has evolved so much over the years. For one, stewards and stewardesses are now usually referred to as a flight attendant. Flight attendant age restrictions have also been modified, and policies that prohibited marriage and pregnancies have largely disappeared. In the 1970s, Southwest Airlines female flight attendants were made to wear hot pants and go-go boots as part of their uniform, something that probably wouldn't fly today, pun intended. At the time, the airline also served drinks with suggestive names like Love Potion and Passion Punch. Women at a hair salon in 1937. The first hairdryer was invented by French stylist Alexandria Godefroy. I think I said that right. Probably not. In 1890, his invention, which consisted of a bonnet that was attached to the chimney pipe of a gas stove, required several hours of use to achieve the desired effect. Handheld hairdryers first hit the market in 1920. Nevertheless, large hairdryers, particularly the rigid hood dryers that were first introduced in the 1950s, are still a common sight at hair salons around the world. This image features a German general named Anton Dostler. He's being tied to the stake for his execution by a firing squad. It was taken in Italy in December of 1945. He was convicted and sentenced to death by the American military troops. He fought in both world wars and was executed because of war crimes he committed. A robot vacuum from 1959. Yeah, you youngsters heard me right. So, no, not my jam, not today. The RoboVac, one of today's biggest auto vacuum cleaners, was actually unveiled in 1959 as part of Whirlpool's Miracle Kitchen of the Future display at the American National Exhibition in Moscow. Like today's robot vacuums, the RoboVac uses sensors to find its way around a room. The American National Exhibition was held from the 25th of July to the 4th of September in 1959. The Cold War event, which attracted more than 3 million visitors, was an opportunity for American companies to showcase their products, which included anything from home appliances to cars and even farm equipment. Tupperware Party in the 1950s. Tupperware is a brand of kitchen products, mainly plastic food containers, developed by Earl Silas Tupper in 1946. In the 1950s, Bronnie Wise, a single mother from Florida, started throwing Tupperware parties to promote and sell Tupperware products to friends and neighbors. This caught the attention of Tupper, who then made Wise Tupperware's vice president of marketing. At a time when a woman's role was generally tied to the home, Tupperware parties became a way to empower women as it allowed them to build a career in sales. The tradition of throwing Tupperware parties continues to this day. Hauling barges and other vessels in Russia. From the 17th to the 20th centuries, landless or poor peasants in Russia would crowd along riverbanks to await the arrival of barges or mid-sized vessels. These peasants, known as burlaks, would then be paid a small amount to haul the boats upstream using their body weight. Burlaks were often part of an artel, a corporative association, with 4 to 6 other burlaks, though some artels were composed of as many as 150 burlaks. The number of burlaks started to decline at the start of the Industrial Revolution. By the beginning of the 20th century, burlaks had practically disappeared. A drive-in cinema in the 1950s. Drive-in cinemas may be an uncommon sight these days, but they were a vital part of American culture in the 1950s. Drive-ins offered customers the ability to watch a movie from the privacy and comfort of their cars. The first drive-in cinema was opened in Las Cruces, New Mexico in 1915. Drive-ins are relatively easy to set up. All that is needed is a large parking lot, a projector, a wall that's painted white, and large speakers, though some drive-ins also used individual speakers placed beside each parked car. Vintage selfies. Before we were uploading our filtered faces to Instagram and we carried high-tech cameras in our phones, cameras were bulky, slow shuttering, and heavy. This selfie with an antediluvian analog camera is being held at arm's length with the help of two men. These selfies were more experimental photography, more so than tools of self-promotion. The first selfie was referred to as a self-portrait at the time and is credited to Robert Cornelius in 1839. Roller skates from 1910. Roller skates were first introduced in 1760 by Belgian inventor John Joseph Merlin. But it wasn't until the invention of the rocking skate by American James Plimpton a century later that roller skating became a popular activity. Roller skates have had numerous iterations over the years. In the 1900s, Swedish inventor Edvard Petrini invented the Takipod, a type of roller skate that is driven by pedaling. While Takipods could have been a great alternative to the bicycle, they were sadly never mass-produced. Milkmen in the 1960s. Milkmen were once a common sight in the neighborhoods throughout the U.S., much like paperboys or mailmen. Close to 30% of U.S. consumers opted to have milk delivered to their homes in the early 1960s. However, the need for milk delivery decreased over the years as household refrigerators became more common. By 1975, less than 7% of consumers had milk delivered. By 2005, this number dropped further to 0.4%. These days, only a handful of companies still offer milk delivery services in the U.S. But, however, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have on Old World Photos today. Thank y'all for watching. Please like for more videos. Until next time, Godspeed.
All of this is research found on the internet.